Hello and welcome to Cinema Sibs. I am your co-host, Rachel Leishman.
And I am your co-host, Patrick Leishman. And today,
We're doing Superman the movie.
I feel like
Damn,
I interrupted you
you,
mid-word.
well, no, it's just you beat me to it. You were like, "Bah," and
I'm
today.
excited, man. You know, I got my t-shirts for all of our movies.
I did put on my Wonder Woman one because the Superman shirt I did have and loved very much. I lost throughout the years and I'm mad about it.
I have a very special Superman shirt. It's a black Brandon Routh era Superman shirt that I wore when my daughter was born, and now I only wear it on September 17th.
So, yeah, for her birthday.
So if you're at her party and you want to know why, just listen to our podcast and you'll know why I always have a Superman t-shirt
You'll understand.
on.
Um, But yeah, I used to love these movies. My letterbox review for this was talking about how when Christopher Reeve died, I was so sad. And Patrick, you'll remember, I used to have this yellow motorized scooter. And I used to, do you not remember the scooters?
Keep going. I'm trying to remember.
It was me, Britt, and one of the other neighbor kids all had these yellow scooters that we got at like the flea market. And we would charge them and just ride them up and down the street in California.
Yeah, I don't remember specific colors and stuff, but I
They were
do remember
bright
that.
yellow. They were bright yellow, and I found out Christopher Reeve died, and I was so upset. I just got on my scooter and was crying down the street on my scooter. I was what, like 13?
I don't remember when he
Hold
died.
on. When
I
did
want to say it
Christopher?
was 2005.
No, it was October 10th of 2004, so I was 12 turning 13.
Yeah,
I was a
because
way from turning
I mean, you
13.
can kind of place it because he was in Smallville, and
Yeah,
Smallville was from 2001 to 2011 or something like that. And so, and he was in the early seasons, like season
seasons.
two and season three. So
Well, he was also, though,
Margot Kidder was also in Smallville.
well, but in Smallville, he also had stuff that was filmed and came out after he died. I remember that.
Well, yeah, because they had the whole like special episode end credit black screen white letter deal. You know what I'm talking about? Like the whole
Yeah,
like for Chris, like one of those deals. The
yeah.
it's I'm not saying the right where like
It's in memoriam.
yeah, an in memoriam or like a celebration. I wasn't looking for in memoriam, but he led me towards like celebration of him. Like
But yeah,
he made us all believe a man could fly. Like it's gonna say that
yeah,
or
he
something.
did.
I will
Um,
tell you just right off the bat, like the practical effects in that movie, although sometimes you can see that the lighting isn't quite right and like you can
mm,
tell, but if you're like 1978, like watching that movie, it's like, yeah, I would believe that he could fly because like they do a fantastic job of that, like how they shoot it and everything, like, but I'm just
but
gonna
even when
warn
you're a
everybody.
kid, even when you're a
What?
kid, you remember that stuff. Because I
Oh,
remember watching those movies and being like, because I watched them with my roommate, watched them with Leah, and I told her, I was like, I don't remember, like, these movies all blur together because I used to watch them just like one, two, three, four, one, two, like, I would just watch all four of them right in a row. So I was like, I don't remember what movie ends where. And so I was like, is this where he goes back into, I like couldn't remember because I
well,
only seen them all at
also,
once.
also, the original ending for Superman 2 was used for the ending of Superman the movie. If you like, I have the Richard Donner cut. Like, so quick, we're
That's
talking
what's
about Superman
confusing
1,
me.
yeah, but okay, so Richard Donner, who's the director of The Goonies and Lethal Weapon and other films, and Superman the movie. The Omen. They'll keep coming to me as the show goes on because I'm a fan of Richard Donner. But he was hired to film Superman 1 and 2 concurrently. Like, so he was filming them at the same time, but budget, time, things got
Oh,
away.
Patrick, you're missing a big one. A big Richard Donner movie for us.
What?
I'll give you a hint. It's a Christmas movie.
Lethal Weapon?
No.
I know which one you're talking about, Scrooge, but Lethal Weapon also takes place at Christmas.
I know, but I was like, come on.
And you don't get me started with the whole Die Hard. It's a Christmas movie. But anyways,
So is Iron Man 3. I'm not the person that would fight you. Iron Man 3 is a Christmas movie.
does it take place entirely over the Christmas holiday?
Hmm.
Then yes, it is a Christmas
And at
movie.
the end
Because
of the movie, Tony Stark says, Merry Christmas, as a bunch of like, his suits are all flying and blowing up above
oh,
them.
you mean when he made that false promise to Pepper and she still stayed with him?
That was the repercussions of Iron Man 3, but yeah. Anyway,
I
sorry,
won't be
Richard
Iron
Donner.
Man anymore. Next movie. Guess who's Iron Man? Like with no explanation. Anyways,
Any Richard Donner.
yeah, you made me lose like two trains of thought. You're killing me here.
Sorry.
Oh, so anyways, Richard Donner is hired to film Superman 1 and 2 concurrently by the Salkind brothers. And budget, this, that, the other thing. Finish Superman 1. He shoots like 70 to 80% of Superman 2, and they fire him. And they bring in Richard Lester, which brings way more comedy in the Superman, or like the Superman franchise.
Hmm.
Because Superman 3 is entirely Richard Lester, but there was a lot of Richard Donner footage shot, and there was a lot of like screen tests and rehearsals recorded, and they were able to put together a cut of Superman 2 called the Richard Donner cut that does have some drastic differences to the one that we get that is credited to Richard Lester. Um, for one thing, you get actual Gene Hackman performance because Gene Hackman's famously refused to shoot anything with Richard Lester for Superman 2. So they use Richard Donner footage and stand-ins to like keep Lex Luthor in the movie. But we're talking about Superman the movie. I just it's a fascinating uh, whole storyline about like the that's why Lois Lane's not really in Superman 3. Um,
Oh boy. Well,
but
I mean,
anyways,
here's the thing about you said he brought more comedy, and my one critique watching this as an adult, because I think the last time I watched it I was probably a teenager, was it is so silly, but just not silly enough. Like there are things that happen that I'm like, this is the most insane thing that's happening. If it was
yeah,
just slightly sillier, it would be so funny. But they're just like, is this a serious Superman movie? And I'm like, you just
like
had someone
my
drown in the pool.
daughter loves the Power Rangers right now, and Bulk and Skull are like the bullies, and like they have their
Mm,
own theme music, and it's like this bump, 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 it's sort of like Otis's music in the
yeah.
movie.
I was just
Uh,
gonna say it's like boom,
well,
boom,
that's what I
boom,
started
boom,
doing
boom, boom,
because I
boom.
had that, yeah. But it's like when Superman like finally reveals himself and he's like saving Air Force One and stopping criminals on a boat and like all this stuff, like the sight gags are exactly like you said. It's like they're almost there because like the dude will hit Superman with a crowbar and then like oh like start vibrating and it's like you get it because it's like he doesn't really want to go there, so like the music would put it over the top, but it's like dude, there's other ways to do it, but it was the 70s. I don't know. My overall critique of it is that like everybody loves this Superman movie. Everybody kind of sees it as the best Superman movie, and it is, but it's not a perfect movie. It's very much
Mm.
a product of its time. It's like a proto superhero movie. Like I was watching it today, and or I finished it today. I started it last night and fell asleep. Literally
I
at the
did.
moment.
I did the same thing.
Or literally, I fell asleep literally at like a perfect moment. It was like Superman saves Lois Lane, and then like it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I was just like, What's going on? Like, where am I?" Uh, and I woke up the next morning, and obviously my wife just like paused it, is because it was like right after that scene, and I just like, "All right, let me finish this. Thank you, Mrs. Leishman." But it's very much like the proto superhero movie that like it's more so than the ones that like came out in the late 80s and the 90s, because at the end I like he does the flyby where he smiles at the camera and they play like the John Williams like theme, and I'm like thinking like this would be a perfect time for Martian Manhunter to be like, Kal-El, we need to talk, like, and you know what I mean, like it's all there, but like it's very much a product of its time. But let's get into the nuts and bolts of this bad boy, which is, why do they need like an hour to talk
I
about him
forgot.
becoming
Wait,
Superman?
hold on. I forgot that happened. And I was like, oh my God, that's right. We're still in like Smallville. Like,
Oh,
this is, I wish it just like
I
started with now this show, Smallville was like, watch
I
this and then
kept,
you're all caught up.
you know how like HBO or on Max, like you just like hit up on your machine, like on the remote. Wow, why am I an 80-year-old man? Like, give me that machine and let me press up on it. But the remote control, and like it'll tell you like the timestamp.
Mhm.
Well, I knew the movie was like 2 hours and 23 minutes long, and it wasn't
Mhm.
telling you time elapsed, just time left. So like I'm constantly like doing math. And at one point, like I hit it up and there was an hour and 35 minutes left. And like his dad had just died. And I'm like, oh my God. Like he still
But
has to like
we
walk
hadn't
to
really had
Antarctica
that
from
before.
Kansas. Like,
We hadn't really had that before, which like now if they did that stuff, we'd be like, we fucking get it. Superman's like dad dies. It's like Batman. It's like we get it. We don't need to see it anymore. But like when you stop and think about it, it's like, well, we really didn't have. There was
never.
what George Reeves. There was
Right.
George Reeves, but like we didn't really have
And
like
comic books were different. Like now,
yeah
comic books are like this main. Everybody knows Superman, and I'm sure back then, like everyone knew Superman. But also, there was like the comic book commission that like rated comic books, and people thought they were satanic. So like, I'm sure they're making this movie, and they're like, okay, so we need to make sure that like we make it very clear, like how he becomes Superman,
yeah.
like, and we're gonna take an hour doing that. Like, but it's all very epic to begin with, like with the
Mhm.
opening in a movie theater within a movie theater, like because we're in the movie theater watching, and then there's a movie theater, like
They were
I
like
know,
meta.
yeah, it was meta before it was a thing, like Richard Donner, ahead of his time.
Well, but the thing about this movie, especially that beginning sequence, is like I'm so sorry, but that young boy running looks so bad. And I feel like even in the
Oh,
70s, I would have been like, what are
it's
we
like
doing? Why
Ezra
not just
Miller
have
in The Flash. No one runs like that ever.
but like, I was like, why don't
I
you
lo-
just have him on a treadmill and then you just like speed like play like the background faster? That would have at least looked better than like having this guy go this.
yeah, like, and it's like he's like leaning forward. It's just bad.
It's bad. And like also though, like hilarious because Jonathan Kent's like, "What are you doing?" And it's like all of those kids in the car are so stupid because you're telling me that not one of them was like, "Huh, it's really weird how this kid cleaned up everything and then somehow beat us here when we left a good at least at that point 15 minutes before him." So like something is up with that, and that they're all just like, "He's so weird," and then just
Yeah,
leave.
he's weirdo. And then they like, I wonder what the casting notice was for Lana Lang. Like, can we have the woman that looks the most like Wendy's from the Wendy's logo?
Yeah, and then
Please.
we're gonna recast her when she comes back later. She's
Yeah,
not gonna be the same woman.
yeah. because it was just like I was just like I laughed because I'm like, yeah, this is before Lana Lang was portrayed as like another sex pot in Clark's life. Like this was just like high school age Lana Lang with red hair. Like nowadays, comic books and media in general, like they'd never do that. They're like, who's the new singer that everybody likes? Let's make her Lana Lang in this
That's
movie.
Lana Lang. But
Yeah.
it's just that whole beginning section. It really is like, man, as an adult, I did not like. I didn't remember the whole like making
How
them go
about
to some
Christopher Reeve
solitude.
dubbing over the actor's voice? Like that's
I
Christopher
didn't even
Reeve's
pick
voice.
that. That I didn't pick up. But
That always creeped me out because it seems unnatural. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, everything about that man seems unnatural. His hair, they got a horrible wig,
Well, Christopher Reeve had alopecia. Like he wears a wig.
but his wig it looks good. Like it looks like that's his hair.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not gonna. I mean, until you get to the Superman 4, where like just none of it looks good.
But like in this movie, that looks like his hair. Like you're like, yes, this is a man with black hair and blue eyes. That guy looked like he had blue eyes, and they were like, it's fine, just put a wig on him, and
Yeah,
it like looked
it's like,
horrible.
sir, like he has blonde features. Like, have you ever heard of dye? Get those eyebrows darker. We can do this.
It looks so bad for
Yeah,
no reason. And like I I guess I always knew I was like, well, Marlon Brando is in this more than I thought, and it's because they're like
he's in it for like
setting up.
6 whole minutes.
But it's like, but it's all in the beginning. It's like they're setting up General Zod, who is not in this movie, and they're setting up
Well,
like
it's because of the. It's a two-parter. Like it was supposed to
I
end
know
on some kind of a cliffhanger. I don't remember what it
probably
was.
probably the like glass and space breaking or whatever the hell happens in the second one, where then like Zod's real.
Yeah,
But like,
because it's the nuclear bomb, not a elevator from France, from the Eiffel Tower,
but here's the thing: imagine being Terrence Stamp and having your name on this movie,
and being in an
and then
elevator with me. It's
yeah, and being in an elevator with you
completely annoyed.
because you're just see, we're two
That's a
different people.
callback to the last episode, folks.
We are two different people because like yeah, you had on that shirt and he was probably like, I hate this
I
guy.
never said a
But
word to
like,
him, just for the
well,
record.
yeah, I know, he just saw your shirt. But I would have seen him and been like, well, now two movies, but years ago I would have been like, oh my god, I love the Haunted Mansion. Because he was like the bad guy in the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion movie from like way back when. So everyone else is like, I love Superman. I'd be like, I love the Haunted Mansion. But then he was, if I remember, no, he's old Sam Claflin, I believe, in Last Night in Soho. But Last Night in Soho, he's in that movie, and I really like that movie, and so I would have been like, loved you in Last Night in Soho, which is would not bring up Superman at
He's
all.
in Star Wars as Chancellor Valorum.
Well, see, I'm not trying to be like,
He
let
covers all
me
the
talk about.
franchises.
He's in all of them. But yeah, it's like here's all these Easter eggs, which now we understand, but I don't know back then how many people were gonna be like, yeah, General Zod, like at the start.
I don't
So
even
like,
know if he was a huge comic character back then.
but
Like,
like you said, it is like a blueprint of like what superhero movies were into what they became because like
yeah, more
now
so than like
with that,
Batman.
yeah, but like now if like that scene we would have been like, oh my god, that means so and so stuff. But like back then
Yeah,
people were
but
like,
like they were the
like
ones
okay.
laying the pavement, like
Mm-hmm.
where it was like because it's like Bri- uh, 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 Brian Singer. I know, but it's the first example that popped in my head, which is like he watched this movie and then made Superman Returns, but like built off of what was created in this movie. And it's like there's this movie, there's Batman, and eventually you get to the point where like these kids that love these movies are adults, and now they're like taking what Richard Donner did, like we're saying, like it's a prototype. It
Yeah.
really
Well,
is where
like
it's like
Patty did that. That's why I love that first Wonder Woman movie so much because she took like
the
how
gun.
Richard
Yeah,
Donner, yeah, like how
yeah,
Richard Donner established Superman and was like,
right.
I'm paying homage to this with Wonder Woman because like without that movie we wouldn't have these superhero movies, and it's true. But like boy, oh boy, I'm like, well, thank God we've evolved. Superman hasn't really. Like, we need to, like, we had a perfect Superman, and then they just fumbled that real hard. But
Yeah, he fell off a horse and broke his neck.
no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Henry Cavill Superman.
Here's the problem is, everybody looks on to the past with rose-tinted glasses. Like, this movie is
Yeah.
not perfect. There is some terribleness in this movie. But the things that they get right has made it so much more difficult for any other portrayal of Superman. And I equate it to like James Bond in the sense that, like, okay, there's been there's about to be a seventh James Bond, is that correct? Or sixth? Lazenby, Connery, um,
Roger,
Roger, uh,
Timothy Dalton.
Pierce, and Daniel. So this will be number seven.
Yeah, because Connery
Okay.
came back twice.
Okay. When Roger Moore was Bond, they tried to give him Live and Let Die as his James Bond theme song. But eventually it goes back to the James Bond theme song because it's literally, I think what it's called is the James Bond theme. Like,
I think
it
it's
could
Double O
be.
Seven's theme, but still.
Yeah, well, I think it was originally like themed from Doctor No because that was where like that was the song that they played throughout the whole movie. But my point is that like they get the theme song right. Like they get the music right in this movie, like to an extent where it's like when people go to see any kind of Superman movie, they just want to hear the John Williams song. Like they
Hmm.
don't care about like the Zack Snyder uh Junkie XL Superman theme. They
I
want to
just
hear.
finished
And,
talking and I have something to say after this.
yeah, and look, it's not. I'm just saying that like they get that right. The other thing they get right, which has been very difficult, even with the sequels in this franchise, this series, is like the general hopefulness and aura of Superman that Christopher Reeve does, like, and how it's portrayed, like it's perfect. And we really haven't received that kind of Superman like since this movie. And that's why like Batman is such a more successful franchise is because
Because he's doom and gloom and people recognize
and
that he's
it's
always
yeah,
doom and
and
gloom.
and it's relatable. But like
Yeah.
Christopher Reeves was the only one that like made that relatable. And it's really through his performance and through his nature with Margot Kidder and Lois Lane. Like, I mean, aside from one very key scene that I'm sure we're going to discuss at length, um, their chemistry is great, and how he is playing Clark Kent and Superman with
Hmm.
her, it really captures his like playfulness and shows how horrible of a man he is, like in some of the things he does. Which I mean, like, because everyone that listens would know I have a daughter and I have a wife, and my sister will tell you 98% of my family is women. Um, so like, I'm just like watching certain parts and what he's doing
Oh,
with like
are you talking
Lois
about
Lane.
are you talking about all of the like weirdly unconsensual kisses that happen in like the third act of this movie? Because
Yeah,
that is also that, and then
and
like
the flying together scene, like the whole
where he drops and she's just like
yes, yes, like I'm like I said,
wait, wait,
like
wait. Before we get
like
in this, wait, before we get in this, I
okay,
do want to talk about one thing because it is you and I have screamed about this, and this movie just reinforces why like we have gone on tangents together about this. Is like Jonathan Kent dies. Superman is like, I have all of these powers and I couldn't do anything to like save him. Smallville has that same kind of mentality of like Jonathan Kent dies and he's like, I couldn't do anything to save the guy that is now canceled from the Dukes of Hazard. But then you get to fucking Man of Steel, and adult ass Henry
and he
Cavill
can
is playing
save
a
him.
teenager, and fucking Kevin Costner is like, "Don't worry about it, Clark. I have to save this dog," and just walks into a tornado, and like, why? That is like you just you saw the point and you went. whew, and like just shot way over him. And
Plus,
I
it's
can't.
so confusing because like it's like I thought I'm watching Jonathan Kent in life, telling Clark Kent the entire time he's his father, don't show people your powers, don't do that crap, what's wrong with you? Don't share your abilities, don't save people, don't do this, don't do that. Only for in death, every time Clark Kent thinks about his dad, it's like you have to share this with the world and save people, Clark. Am I wrong, or
Well,
am I like
no,
missing something crucial
you're right,
in the
but the
Kevin
way
Costner portrayal? Like it's like every time when he's in heaven, he's like, "Go save them people, Clark." But
you're
alive, he's
right,
like,
but here's
"They
the
will
thing.
dissect you. They will eat your heart to get your powers. Do not share."
He's like Splinter in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies, where he's like, "You guys can't go out there; they're gonna milk you." Like that's his whole thing in the Ninja Turtle movie is that he's like, "They're gonna milk you," and sure as shit, they're like, they all get captured and they're like strung up to this thing, and they're like, "Does that say a milking machine?" And then Splinter comes in, he goes, "Does that say a milking machine?" They're like, "No, don't worry about it." But it's like that. They're like, "Oh fuck, he was right." But like in this movie, it's like that scene could have been so much better if like Superman did go like if he used his powers and went and saved Jonathan and the dog and was like, I can just save people with these, and then Jonathan's like, you're right, son, and then just kills over with a heart attack. But like the fact that it is not a heart attack, the one thing that like Clark sincerely cannot help with, like insane, just insane. And this movie goes out of its way to be like, yes, the one thing I can't help with, a heart attack. Then whoever made the decision, whether it be Zack Snyder or whoever else in the Man of Steel movie, was like, nah, that's too real. We have to make Kevin Costner just walk into a natural disaster and die that way when his son is Superman.
Right. It's just
But anyways,
back to this one though. So Glenn Ford plays Superman's father.
mm-hmm.
Good,
They're
a big
so
time old school actor. Oh no, Noel
no,
Neill, the original Lois Lane's in this movie. Kirk Allen is in this movie, the original Superman, like
yeah,
from
but
the serials.
here's the thing. No offense to them, but I do like that we have just progressively made Martha and Jonathan Kent younger and younger and younger throughout the years because like they're
Oh,
so
dude,
old in this one, and
come
then it
on.
just is like slightly younger
That
and
that
younger.
is what Hollywood does. Need I bring up your favorite superhero, Spider-Man, and how in the Tobey Maguire movies, the woman is, I don't know how old she is, but like she looks like she's supposed to be in her late 60s, early 70s by like her vibe. And then
That's my
the
girl.
next movie, you get Sally Field that's like at least a good 15, 20 years younger in her looks and portrayal of the role. And then the next
And my
movie is Marissa
girl.
Tomei, who like perpetually looks like she's in her late 30s. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
But she's not. I mean, it also is like time because
she's
she was
got
in her
a way
50s.
more
But
youthful vibe than like, I mean, you
yeah,
know what I mean? So it's like,
it,
yes, pretty soon Martha Kent is gonna be like uh Bebe Rexha. I don't know who's like a star that's in her 20s right now.
why did you pick a singer?
Well, because I go on Yahoo all the time and they talk about her
You were just
on
like, I'm gonna
Yahoo.
pick a singer.
Like
I don't know.
I'll
I
just be
understand what you're
reading,
saying, but
I'll be reading through headlines and it'll be like, trolls talk about BB Rex's weight and she has the best response, and then I just keep on going and I don't read the article. But that's how I know who she is, and I don't
she's
know
a
that she's a
singer.
singer. Yeah,
She's a
I
singer,
just, I know she's a star of some sort.
um, but yeah, no. Oh my god, I was like, what? Um. Anyways, the it this
Kaylee
movie,
Cuoco's playing Martha Kent in the Superman Legacy.
great job. You picked an actress. um.
Oh, I know Kaylee Cuoco. I watched 10 things, 10 Simple Rules.
Nope.
I'm
Eight.
just
Eight.
eight. Yeah, that's right.
I was like, nope, your number's too high. Go
Dude,
down.
there's way more sitcoms that I watched than movies. I can't keep them all straight, man.
Anyways, so this movie, first of all, an insane way of revealing Christopher Reeve because he just like, if I remember correctly, doesn't he just like pop up into the scene when he's like talking to Perry?
No.
Like he's sitting down and then he just like stands up and like
The
that's the first time you see Christopher Reeve.
no, the first time you see Christopher Reeve is the creepy young like Clark Kent walks. Like he's like walking in the Antarctic with like a flannel on, and that is it. And he just like has the green crystal that Marlon Brando put
Yeah.
in his face because it called to him when he was sleeping,
Yeah.
and he throws it into the water, and then he walks into it builds the Fortress of Solitude. He walks in, and Marlon Brando starts talking to him. He's like, "I am your father," and then like literally 14 years go by because
Oh, never mind. Yes, I remember
yeah,
him.
and then like he's like, and this is like all this crap, whatever he's talking about human history and that of the 27 species that we are aware of, humans are definitely the worst, but they have potential, Kal-El. And and then it ends, and he's like, now you're ready, and he's in the full garb and flies into the camera.
That's right.
Then it's what you say, like that's when
I
he's in.
forgot about that little scene,
It
but like, yeah,
starts with Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. Like Jimmy Olsen's got
yeah.
the camera and he puts it on Lois Lane, and then Lois Lane
Which
goes in the office and like he's like, Lane, there's one P in rapist because it says like rapist or whatever, and then he's like, this is Kent, like I'm giving him the city beat, and then he like pops up and he's like, hello, Miss Lane.
and it's really cute to see later in the movie when he like goes from Clark into Superman and he like is like you see how
Because you
little he
never
makes himself and
see
then he like
that, but like
stands
you
up.
can see it, like his hair almost changes and he never touches it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, famously, he just his suit disappears in one scene and it just becomes the Superman outfit. I was like, I don't know how that works, but okay.
Probably, I wonder
He
if it's when he's
it's when he jumps out the window in a
yeah.
suit and then it just turns into his Superman outfit.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, people are being nitpicky. It's meant to imply that he's that fast that like it just seems that way.
I know, but it is funny because you're like, well, where did the suit go? Because you were
Yeah.
like midair. So
Yeah.
like, where did it go?
Oh, yeah, that is weird.
It's just
But
like
okay,
fades out, and you're like,
the thing about what I just described though, where Superman meets Jor-El, his father, Marlon
mm-hmm.
Brando, or we'll call him Marbro, um,
Oh my god.
and becomes Superman at the end of it, like I had implied, 14 years pass.
Mm-hmm. So not college. He
Yeah,
didn't
like
go to
how is
college.
he getting a job at like what is implied to be amongst the biggest newspapers in the world
Well, let
on
me
the
explain
city
something to
beat?
you.
I
Let
know
me
that there's a
explain something to
TV
you about
show
the
that
70s.
Superboy, but
No, let me explain to you something about a white man in the 70s. It's a thing called the patriarchy. You
yeah,
just walk on it. Just be
he's
like,
like
I
doesn't
am
have any
Lois.
job history, but man, can he type really fast? Like
He's like, I got this.
he'll be
Don't
able to
worry about
teach his
it.
secretary how to type his messages for him.
And hold on, we never see him do work. This whole movie, we do not see him do work one time. Lois,
No.
constantly working. Clark, I've never seen him do work. Jimmy is
Well,
always
no,
cleaning his
that's
little camera, but like I've never seen Clark
no, Clark
like
is sitting at
writing.
his desk. Like there's scenes where he's like sitting at his desk and then he
But we
follows
don't know if
Lois.
he's. But that's all he does is he follows Lois. So like we
Look,
don't know.
I look at it like this. I mean, come on, it's a movie. All they got to do is say like, "This is Rachel Leishman. She has a Twitter account and writes for the Mary Sue," and then they never have to show you doing anything because you
No, I
are
mean
a writer for the Mary Sue.
that's the point, Patrick. You in a movie with a male character, you don't. With a female character, this is a great example of like what you have to
You're
show in.
changing what your point is
No,
because
shh.
you were saying you
Let
never
me
saw him
say
do
it.
anything, but then you were like, "Oh, that's a good thing. I'm going to make another point." Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. What I'm saying is, in movies, this is a great example of like what you have to do with female characters versus what you have to do with male characters. Because the reason we have the Mary Sue as a website in general is because certain men, most of the time on the internet, would get so mad if a female character was like labeled as good at something, but they didn't see them learn it or didn't see how they were good. But like male characters, like for example, Luke Skywalker could just be good at something and they're like, I believe it. Like, and this movie is a perfect example of like how it was always set up, where it's like, you never know that Clark is good at his job. You never know that he like can actually be a journalist. He's just sitting at a desk and they're like, he's good. Lois has to like actively be like, I'm writing this piece. I'm getting an interview with Superman. I'm investigating this thing. And then
I am
that's how you
terrible
know
at
she's good.
spelling.
Yeah, can't spell, and also maybe don't drive on a flat tire. But like, but I'm good at investigating, and it's kind of like, and that's an example of like how movies and cinema as a whole are. It's like the female character has, like, you have to see how good they are at something, where like Clark Kent is literally just like, hi, yes, I didn't go to college, my space alien dad just taught me about the world, I didn't finish some of high school, can I please have a job? And Perry is like, you're hired. And then Perry doesn't even seem to like him. Later in the movie, he's like, you have no confidence. You have no, like,
You gotta get
aggression.
Lois to introduce you to Superman. Ask him what his underwear color is.
He's like, hey, why don't you steal Lois's
Why do?
beat? It was like, what?
Yeah,
Why
it's
did
like
he give to it?
she's the greatest reporter that ever lived. I'm giving you her beat because she's a woman and she needs your help.
Exactly. Like this movie, it's like, you're like, oh, thanks. I did say when I was watching this movie, it is like, the they found the weirdest ways of being like, yes, Lois Lane, very steadfast, very confident, she knows what she can do, she's not afraid to do it. How can we make her into a damsel in distress? Let's trap her in a car with boulders falling on top of it with no gas,
Helicopter
one, yeah,
hanging off
a
the side of a building.
helicopter. Let's, Superman drops her and she just has to
Oh,
descend into the
yeah.
sky. Like, absolutely insane things so that they can be like, see, she needs Superman. I'm like, does she? Because it seems like he is the reason she is in 90% of these issues. Like,
Well, the
he's
helicopter, no.
and the car, no, but the like,
And
her
the other
almost
thing,
just dying is,
he was like, "Do you want to go for a fly with me?" Like when they have that
but why did he think this was gonna work? Like, what, in what world was he like, hey, this is always gonna be a steadfast way of not dropping anyone from, first of all, a woman who shouldn't be able to breathe up how high they were, but like, just like this killed me. Like, bruh. Or he went like this,
Can you read my mind?
the
Do you
poem.
know? Yeah. What it should be is like he took me flying, then he dropped me to show me his power and how much I needed him. Like that was like that whole scene was just like creepy. It's
Yeah.
always been creepy. It's just like
It's like romantic at first, and then you start thinking about it, and you're like,
I think it's
I
like
don't like it.
op it's like I know I said that like their chemistry like really like helps Superman's like aura, but like there's also it's also just like so awkward. And the thing that they do wrong in this movie that makes their love story better is that like Lois wants Superman,
Hmm.
where when it works, it's that like Lois wants Clark and she's not, and like she just has a relationship with you know what I mean? Like Lois has to love Clark for that love story to work. And
Listen,
like early portrayals was always the Clark's a nobody, I want Superman, but like it works
yeah.
so much better when it's Lois falls in love with Clark and then he's like, "Hey, bonus, guess who I actually am? Is
Well,
Superman."
that's why, like, I love, it's why I really like Zendaya as MJ. It's why I really like modern, uh, Lois and Clark stories, only because it's like Lois, in my mind, it is the mentality of, oh, I like this man. He kind of looks like that superhero. What if my dream is like actually a reality and they are the same person. And it's like but it's built in that love that they have for like with MJ's Peter Parker, but like with Clark Kent, and then it is the like, hey, wait, I think I figured this out. Because she's an investigative journalist. So if you're telling me that glasses can like hide the fact that this 6'4" dude is
Yeah,
in your
but
life,
that's
like
why
I don't look
that's
any
why
different with
Christopher
costume.
Reeve's portrayal is so good.
Oh, because he
Is
does the vest
because
thing.
he drops like 4 inches. Like you brought it up. Like he's like, well, Lois,
Yeah.
you
Still
know,
though, his face is not
and then
like
he's
that. His
like,
face is not that different.
yeah, but dude, like your hair can really like change things. I know it's more pronounced when your hair is longer, like if but he can like the he I'm just saying, where there was a really good explanation of like why nobody could tell that Superman and Clark Kent were the same person. And it was Lex Luthor when he was told straight up that like Superman was Clark Kent, he refused to believe it because he was like, no God would ever allow himself to live among the peasants. Like it just like he couldn't fathom why would he do that. No, there's no way they were the same. And then on Super or Lois and Clark, the New Adventures of Superman, H.G. Wells, yes, I know, has built the time machine and he is time traveling, and Lois finds out that Clark is Superman during this storyline, and he
Mm-hmm.
says to Lois that like it was because of love that like is why she couldn't tell because you know she was blinded by love. So I mean, there's a couple of examples.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like there are some people who are not that close with Clark or Superman for that matter, but see pictures of Superman and I would be like,
Well, it's funny you say that because in a deleted scene that made its way, like, okay, the opening of Superman 2, Lois is in the Eiffel Tower. There's a bomb, a terrorist bomb, elevator.
yeah, because she's
Uh,
always in the midst of some
yeah. Uh,
outrageous place that she shouldn't be that someone has to
but
save her from.
the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, they're in Metropolis, and she is got a newspaper with Superman on it, and
Oh,
she's
I've seen it.
drawing the hat and the glasses and then jumps out a window. And Superman actually saves her by like making a canopy like pop out with
Yeah.
his heat vision or super breath or something like that. I own the freaking movie. I haven't watched it in like
I
a
just no,
decade.
I just watched it. So she does that. She jumps out the window, and Clark does what you said, and he like is down there, and he just like makes it open, but he's back up in the office, or he like runs up to the office and like leans out the window and is like, "Lois, are you okay?" and like yells at her because
Oh
she's
yeah,
like,
I remember because it's clearly not Christopher Reeve. Like it's a super far away shot and it's a sound
yeah,
alike. Yeah, I remember that.
but yeah, it was that one, and then obviously like that whole movie is her being like, maybe, and I get it, like that in this movie she's so enamored by Superman that she like doesn't register because she literally
The
in the scene
shine
I was talking
has to
about where
come
he does
off.
this, yeah, but
You know what I
when
mean?
he does this thing, she walks past Clark without his glasses on when he's standing up, and then his glasses coming off is what gives it away to her. Well, and the fact that his hand didn't get burned, but like the glasses are what kind of
Yeah, but
like
see, you're mixing
clue
them up
her in.
because I
You
got I
want
might
what?
watch the Richard Don no the between the Richard Donner cut and
Oh, I was like, no, because that's
the
what
Richard
happened
Lester.
in the Richard Lester,
That's
and
what
like
happened
they're
in
in
the Richard
Niagara Falls,
Lester
and
cut.
yeah,
Yeah, but you're making me try to remember what happened in the Richard Donner
yeah.
cut.
I was like, I'm not mixing anything up.
She
That's what
shoots him.
happened.
That's what it
Yeah,
is.
and
She shoots him, and then he stands up, and he's like, "What if I wasn't Superman?" And she was like, "They're blanks." Like, and he was like, "Damn it,
yeah,
son of a bitch!" He turns into Chris Farley for a minute.
down by the river.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna give you a super kiss and erase your memory.
That's also bad. But yeah, I think the this movie could have been almost a whole hour shorter because there's just so much stuff that you don't really need in it, and it's not bad. So it's
You
like,
know,
oh, it's a fun Superman, but
it's
you don't really need 90% of it.
dude. The movie we did last week, the Star Trek trilogy, the first one.
Hmm.
That's what you need. Like, Krypton blew up. Let's get him off the planet. Like, you could keep the Krypton stuff because that's really like 15 minutes, right? Like, where
Oh,
they're
the
on.
very beginning, yeah.
Yeah, you keep the Krypton stuff, you shoot them off. You have the one scene where the spaceship crashes and they're like, "Hey, guess what? I'm a baby that lifted up a pickup truck." Whoop-de-doo. Like, and then you show the dad die, and then you bring back Marlon Brando. Like the whole like I can kick a football into space when the reality is that football would explode with the force. That like it wouldn't leave your foot and travel upward. It would
No, it
go in a
would
zillion
explode.
pieces everywhere. That's the little things that drive me crazy. But it's like it's funny. Like you should be saying to me, like, because like the whole like there's 12, 14 years of his life that he like just doesn't work or do anything, and you get and it's like you said the same thing about like something a couple episodes ago, Doc Brown maybe, where you're like, how does this? How do they know that?
Yeah.
Oh, Indiana Jones, I think it was, or whatever,
No, I
where it
think it was
was.
Doc Brown because I was like, how do they know each other? And you were like,
It's a
they do.
fucking movie.
Yeah, you're like, they just do. And I was like, but how do they know each other? How do these two people hang out?
What's funny is after that episode aired, like people were like, Marty broke in the Doc's shop, and Doc was not angry. He was more happy at Marty's curiosity and gave him a job as his assistant. Like
But I'm like,
that's
what?
the actual story. At
But also, I'm
13,
like,
Marty.
you know what would be great if that was in the goddamn movie. But like,
Okay,
that's the
you
thing
can't
is
have
like,
everything. Like,
it's
hey
you really
Marty,
can't.
do you remember when you broke in my office when you were 13 and I like gave
That's
you a
all I need.
job?
No, I didn't need that. And then he would have been like, yeah, we're over it. And I would have been like, cool, that's how they know each other. But instead, it's like, just trust the process. And I'm not trusting processes anymore. Explain to me why things are happening. Like in this movie, explain less.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
you're
just.
explaining too much. I don't need that much explanation. I need like a quarter of what you gave me.
However, once he becomes Superman and he saves Lois, it gets much better. Like there's just very
Oh, yeah.
like everybody talks like, and I agree. So I'm one of these everybody's. Like his portrayal of freaking Clark Kent is fantastic, and his portrayal of Superman is like fantastic. But there is, I know it's called Superman the movie. I understand that, but there is way more Superman in this movie than Clark Kent. Like he gets a lot of credit for being Clark Kent, but he's like Clark Kent when he shows up at the Daily Planet, when you see like the first scene at the Daily Planet, he's Clark Kent. Then he becomes
Mm-hmm.
Superman and saves Lois in the helicopter. And then there's just like all the feats of Superman showing that he's bulletproof and all is strong and all that crap, right? And then like, where's Lois? Oh, she's in a desert, like
Dealing
okay.
with
And
a
then
land guy who is Lex Luthor, who is living in the subway.
yeah,
Uh,
uh, you try to get
very
a park
clearly,
address avenue like this.
yeah, wait, very clearly New York, and they're like Metropolis. I was like, that looks like I was walking near that area yesterday. I was like, that's very clearly like New York City, and they're just like, no, it's Metropolis. I'm like, Gotham is supposed. You guys are supposed to be Chicago. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, like
Why?
dude, and what's great is they're just like, yeah, like uh, Marvel will just use actual city names, but
Yeah,
DC's like, we're gonna rename all of our big cities. So like you said, like uh, Metropolis is definitely New York City, and Gotham
no,
is.
flipped. Gotham is New York.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
Metropolis
Metropolis,
is Chicago.
but like no one ever is like, and this is like our swap for LA. Just like
There's like that's California.
they don't get
Well,
a
no.
superhero. They're too big of a bunch of jerks or whatever.
Well, what also is really funny to me is like going back quickly to like Batman versus Superman, Metropolis and Gotham are like across the river from each other. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? You
Yeah,
guys just
James
made
Gunn.
that
I
like
was thinking that James Gunn's gonna fix that. Like that's gonna
I
be
was
like
like,
no.
what the fuck do you mean
They
they're
need to
across
be
the
on
river?
other sides of the country. Like it would make more sense. Like that's why I was saying like
Well, what
Metropolis should
about
be like
Central City?
L.A.
But what
What?
about Central City?
I think the name would imply where that should be.
No, it could be LA. It doesn't fucking matter.
What if it was? No,
It's
I'm
more
saying
like,
it should be in between the two. Central
yeah,
City.
no, but Metropolis is
Keystone
not that
City should
far,
be in Pennsylvania.
Patrick. Metropolis is not that far from fucking Kansas, which would mean
Oh my God.
Chicago.
Yeah, but that's not always the case. Like in this
Well, it isn't.
movie, you don't know how far away Metropolis is from Kansas.
Well, it is in Smallville. Well, no,
So
I think later in these movies, when he goes back to
we're talking about
Smallville,
Superman
it's
the
not that
movie.
far. I understand, but I'm saying in this universe, I don't think Metropolis is that far from Smallville.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Well, you
I'm
started
just,
it.
I, I don't even know how. I don't even know how we got here. I'm trying to think back.
Okay. Anyways, um,
But oh, so
but
once he starts becoming Superman, it's awesome.
mm,
But I got to talk about Lex Luthor because like Gene Hackman is fantastic, but I
there's too
yeah,
much of that stuff.
there's too
There's
much
too
of
much.
Lex Luthor. He played him too much like a parody of a Bond villain, and it's like no man, like I like modern Lex Luthor. You know, and around that time in the comic books, maybe a few years later, but like Lex Luthor becomes that calculated, like this is like Batman
Mm-hmm.
66 Lex Luthor, and you know, like the wigs were like, you know, it's just Otis is perfect for this Lex Luthor, and
Mr. Luthor. Mr.
yeah,
Luthor.
hey, Ned Beatty, you know, I mean, he's fantastic, but I love Gene Hackman, and I'm sure there's going to be some people out there that are like, "F this guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about." But like, I mean, he's great, but it's like I was saying about Christine Chapel last week. Like, it would have been better if he was, you know, like not Lex Luthor, like Morgan Edge. You know, like even though Morgan Edge isn't like that, it would
No,
still like there's more freedom. But back then, Lex Luthor was different in the pop culture of it all than he is
he's
now, where
almost
he's
more of like a Max Lord type in this, where it's like, I have all this money and I'm going to use it to be so bad for like
yeah,
the dumbest reasons.
yeah.
Like,
Well, not
okay.
necessarily the dumbest reasons. Like his plan is pretty horrific if you think
No,
about it.
that plan is, yes. But his plan in like the beginning of the movie is absolutely batshit. And then he's just like the whole like layer thing is insane. And like the end of this movie, I was like, man, you could have made that so silly and it would have like genuinely been a funny reveal to like the guard because he's like, I'm Lex Luthor, the greatest criminal mastermind of our time. And all I wanted was for the warden to be like, who? And then like I wanted
Yeah,
Superman to reveal that he was wearing a wig the whole time. Like I was like, both of those things would have been genuinely
yeah.
funnier than like what we got at the end of this movie. But it was like everything about him was just like weird and quirky, but then just slightly too serious.
Yeah, it's very 70s. It's very
Yeah,
70s. Like, you're gonna be the comical character in this like dramatically, like semi-dramatic action movie. You know, like that's
yeah.
the way to. But it's like they
The tone is
took the
all over the place.
subject matter with a degree of seriousness, and then they were like, Lex Luthor and his gang are going to be the comic relief in this movie, and it was like, ah, such a horrible choice. You know what I mean? Like,
Especially
yes, Otis, like, but not all of them. like, I mean, that whole sequence where they're reprogramming the missiles is so like Me Too cringy. Like where they're like,
You
where
mean where all the people, all the like the
where Major
government
Tony
is like
Nelson from not Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, where he's like,
is
I'm gonna give
like
her a vigorous chest massage. I mean, Valerie Perrine was in Playboy at that time. Like she was a sex pot in that when that movie came out. But like how like we're gonna give her a vigorous chest massage and several
well, it's that,
and
and
it's
then
just like, geez, oh man. And then
and she turns around and kisses Superman when he's unconscious, and I
oh,
was
you
like,
mean
let's
you
not do
mean
that.
like when she jumped into the water with a white top on and a white
Yeah,
bra in a
but then
movie that
she
is PG-13 or PG? I don't think they had PG-13 back then,
but then
meant for kids. It's
she
Superman. They're not making that movie going, there's going to be 40-year-old guys standing in line for days to see that. Like, no. Back then, everyone was convinced it was going to be a bunch of 12-year-olds wanting to see that movie.
well,
And you
then
know
it's
what?
that,
Now
and
that
then
I say the age of the kid, it makes sense that they would do that. But
she kisses Superman when he's unconscious, and then
oh,
he does it later when
actually,
Lois is
no.
dead.
Even worse, she kisses him and then takes the thing off of him that makes him
Yeah,
helpless. Because he even says, why did you do that? And she goes, because I didn't think you would let me uh, otherwise. So, like, he's helpless. Like, he's essentially been roofied, and she's taking advantage of the
yeah,
Man of Steel.
it's bad. I will say, what is that whole sequence? So, like, let's just jump ahead towards the end. So basically, Lex
Oh,
Luthor
yeah, I have
discovers
questions. I think you have the same questions about
So
this
Lex
movie.
Luthor discovers that he like has a library and he pulls out a book. He's like, Krypton exploded, and like now
I
here's this
surmise
rabbit.
that the rocks from that
Yeah,
planet,
and you're like,
based
okay,
on nothing,
yeah, she figured it out. So he got kryptonite. He put it in the lead box because in the interview, Superman says he can't see through lead. So he's like,
pink,
great, we're gonna trick him.
pink.
Okay, thanks.
Your underwear is
He
pink.
I understood the reference you were making. So then, when Lex Luthor unveils his like actual plan, like he didn't actually have to do the plan. He just needed to like tell Superman a
He's
lie and
theatrical.
like, no,
He's
I know, but like
theatrical.
that's insane that he's like, I want to kill Superman, but I'm gonna go out of my way to like actually do this crazy plan and like. I know it's because he wanted to like
Oh,
have help
and
from them,
there's a
but like
deleted
whatever.
scene that there is so much more to it than that too. Like
But
the
so,
gauntlet, he has to go through a gauntlet that like is not in the original cut of the movie, but
but
there's a
too much.
yeah, where he's like gets shot, burnt, frozen. Like every step of the way, Lex Luthor just keeps hitting him with crap, and none of it works. But anyways, I'm
Well,
sorry to interrupt you.
so no, sorry. So then he opens the case and it's like, whoa, it's kryptonite, and like, yeah, he's like, whoa. And then he falls into the thing. Lex Luthor grabs it like literally Lana Lang's necklace in hold on.
Bless you.
Thank you. Grabs it like Lana Lang's necklace in Smallville, puts it on him, and then is like, whoop, and throws him into this pool that he has in the depths of the subway system. And so then Superman is underwater, and I love you, Christopher Reeve. You're one of my favorite people on the planet. But you were bad at pretending like you can't take that chain off your neck because he was like basically had it off and then be like,
Yeah,
oh
it's
shit.
weightless, bro. Like when I go swimming, I pretend I'm Superman half the time. Like when I push off the wall. Like
Yeah, but he would just went like
I'm
this. I'm like,
40, I'm gonna be 43 soon, and I'm still pretending like I can fly in a pool like
be
Superman.
fine.
Much
But
like
he
when
was
I go
being
to a
so
grocery store and I use the force to open
forced
the
to open
door.
the door. But he just
Yeah,
goes
the
like this.
door does not
He like
open because I'm approaching it. It's because I use the force.
wait, here's the thing. He has it like here. It's like
And then
here.
it's too
And then
much.
oh, it's too much. I drop it. And it's just why? And so
You
then
know why? I will tell
Zemo,
you. I will tell you. You gave me the female perspective about like jobs and movies. Let me give you the male perspective now.
why?
He was like, you know what? I could probably get this off, but she was wearing a white dress. If I wait long enough, I heard Lex Luthor say her mom was gonna die. Maybe she'll jump in and take this off me and make
and
out with
then
me
kiss me when I
against
am
my
unconscious.
will.
When I am
Yeah,
unconscious, kiss
that's
me.
what. And guess what? His plan worked perfectly.
Great job, Soups. You got assaulted and got your kryptonite off of your neck. Um,
Yeah.
but it's just I was like, okay. And then she assaults him and he leaves. So she gets kissed against her will. He gets kissed against his will. And then you know who learns nothing? Superman. Because he goes and does it to Lois. It's like everyone just keeps going and kissing people against their will in the last act of this movie.
Oh, and
And
their
I don't know why.
justification, everybody's justification is basically because they're really hot.
Yeah.
I find them
Well,
really attractive because there's no way that he knows anything about Lois Lane. Like Clark Kent has never hung out with her, and he spent one night with her, answered like 12 questions, and then they flew around. So there's no way that like he's in love with her. He kissed her because she was really hot.
I
He
even said, wait, when I was
to him,
rewatching this
by the
movie,
way.
because remember I said I was like, I used to watch them back to back to back to back, so I like really couldn't remember when things happened. I said out loud, well, I don't think he turns back time in this movie because they don't really have a relationship to justify him turning back time and saving Lois Lane in this movie. And then he did it. I was like, just kidding. He goes back in time and saves Lois Lane, even though they don't have a goddamn relationship with each other.
He doesn't even spend any time with her until Superman 2, and that's when they have to pose as a married couple in
Yeah,
Niagara
I mean
Falls.
Clark and her go on like a date, but she's like in love with Superman, so it's like, how is that
That they
fun
go
for
on the
Clark?
date in this movie. He's like,
Yeah, that's what I'm
"My
saying.
God, I'm going to show you the best time ever."
But
Like,
that's
are
when
you
she's like,
Kansas
yeah,
boy?
Clark,
Yeah,
okay, Clark, because she's in love with Superman. But
yeah.
so then this last sequence is like the bombs go off. He like stops one, but he doesn't stop the other one. So
Well,
it
because
hits this.
that was the condition after she
Yeah,
raped him. Is that I will save you if you save my mom.
you gotta save my
Screw the
mom.
millions of people in California. I need you to go to Hackensack, the birthplace of Frank Sinatra.
And a great song.
Yeah. What? The birthplace of Frank
No,
Sinatra?
just the song Hackensack.
Hackensack,
No,
Hackensack,
it's by Adam Schweitzer,
Brooklyn.
right? No, Adam. What's his last name? Who sang he wrote all the music for that thing you do, but he wrote a song called Hackensack. Fountains of not Fountains of Wayne. Hold on.
Adam McKay,
No, no, it is Fountains of Wayne. Yeah, the lead singer of Fountains of Wayne
Adam Wayne,
sang a song. No, Adam
Adam
Schlesinger. There it
Fountain,
is. Oh
Adam
my
Fountain.
god. Anyways, um, Hackensack. Anyways, so yeah, he saves one bomb, and then the other bomb hits the San Andreas Fault, which Lex Luthor says the San Andreas Fault in the most insane way when he is telling him this plan. He's like, San Andres. And I'm like, that's not how you say that fault line. And
Otisburg,
but
Otisburg.
but like
Miss Tessmacher got a little piece of land. I just said a little something for me. Otisburg,
no.
Otisburg, you nincompoop. Sorry, that's the
But
what we
that's
got
essentially
for
that
like
scene, yeah.
yeah.
That the whole plan is he's going to blow up the San Andreas Fault with this nuclear bomb. Or it's not a nuclear bomb, but it's like a 500 megaton bomb. And I watched Oppenheimer, so
That's a lot.
that's a hydrogen. Um, uh, Thank you, Edward Teller. But so the idea is that like where the fault line is, so this is the fault
That's
line.
Penn
Everything.
and Teller.
No,
Oh,
Patrick, don't. I'm gonna hit you with the Teller stare. So, anyways, this is the fault line. The idea is that it's just gonna go poosh, and then all the new land that no one wants to live in California is
will
New
now
California,
be.
and it's what Lex Luthor owns. And so I forget what they call it, what he calls the Lex Luthor part.
It's Marina Del Lex. There's like four of them.
Yeah, but it's
Uh,
basically like he's gonna own New California, and so here is what I don't understand: the Hoover Dam is in
is
Las
in Nevada.
Vegas,
Yeah.
in Nevada. So why are we that far over?
Well, think about it though. Like it's all like that kind of land is all on the drive to Vegas from LA.
I
So
understand that, but I don't.
I don't know.
Well, but also
Well,
maybe it's part of
how
the
about the
series.
fact that Superman does all kinds of important stuff
I
when
can't.
this earthquake?
I hope you're about to say what I think you are because it was driving me crazy this whole
Yeah,
movie.
like he fixes the fault line, saves a bunch of kids on a bus, makes a train have tracks so it can drive past, and saves Jimmy Olsen. Destroys like the top of a mountain to put a new dam to save this town and like all of this stuff. And the only person somehow that he doesn't save is Lois. So he travels back in time,
Oh
right?
wait, no, no, no. Before we get there, wait, before we get there, the thing
He
that was
puts
driving me
Jimmy in
crazy
harm's way. Like he's like,
that
stand right here and don't move.
that and the fact that like he didn't think to just plug the dam itself because like the Hoover Dam literally protects like all of these fucking towns. And instead of just being like, let me plug the dam and then I'm going to go and stop the water flow, like you needed two steps. And instead he just goes, I got it. And just knocked a bunch of rocks down and was like, fixed it. And and he clearly like one town got washed
Oh,
away.
dude,
Like it
some of
showed
the solutions, like in Superman 3, he freezes a lake, right? Because he
but he
needs
carries
water
it,
to
doesn't
put a
he?
fire out.
Yeah, yes.
But he carries it from the side, and it's like, why are you carrying it from the side? Get it in the middle, man. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I don't care how strong you are, that lake is not going to sustain that stress. You need
Oh,
some I
especially
beams in
the
there to
whole
hold
time.
it up.
Wait,
Like,
the whole time we were watching it, when they were holding hands and like flying in the sky, I was like, "That's not how that would work." But that's not how that would work. They would not
I
float
often watch
together.
that and I'm like, maybe it's the momentum. Like maybe that's how she's able to like lay flat and like not have her legs like hanging down and be like, ah. It's because Superman is like got momentum and he's like, just stick your arm out. Trust me. Like you'll be like you're flying because of my momentum. Like it's called like super fricical force or whatever. I don't know. Like it doesn't make sense. Just like what I'm about to say is like so Superman does all this important stuff. Like he fixes
Almost
the
kills
fault
Jimmy
line.
Olsen.
Yeah,
Almost kills Jimmy
puts
Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen right square in the
Where
center of like danger.
rocks are
Yeah,
falling.
like he's like okay, where's the eye of the storm where everything's gonna happen? All right, Jimmy, stand right here. Don't move.
That
Just
was the best though
stay
when it cuts
right there.
where he leaves and goes, "It's okay, Miss Lane's coming to get me," and then rocks instantly start falling.
Yeah,
He's like,
oh, it happens again too because anyway, so Superman saves all these people. Remind me because I want to bring up how it immediately happens again. Like
"Wait,
Superman learns no lessons, as you said,
oh wait,
because
let me explain what's happening with Lois during this time because it is the funniest shit. It is comical how she ends up
it's just
like
weaving
she,
around electrical
she's
poles. And,
wait, so she's at a
like
gas
it's like
station.
stop the effing car and get away from all the electricity. That's what you
So
should
wait,
do
she's at
first.
a gas station and she's like, "Hello, beep beep," and no one's there because an earthquake is happening. And so she's like, "Okay." So she starts driving. The electrical like telephone wires start falling, and she's bobbing and weaving,
Running
loses, I
over
think,
them
like,
too, which
yeah,
would destroy every tire
loses
on her car.
two tires at least. I think she has
Yeah.
one tire left by the time we get to like where she is. And you know what doesn't stop her? Not the three flat tires that she has, but the fact that she runs out of gas. And then instead of, getting out of the car and going anywhere else, she just stays in the car. And then the fault line just breaks. So the car goes in
Oh, dude,
again,
there is
not
a
getting out of
clear.
the car.
I actually counted. It's like 3 seconds, okay? Which, if you've ever like sat there and looked at a clock, seconds actually is quite a bit of time. I know it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but like in this 3 seconds, Lois looks at her rearview mirror, sees the road just splitting in half, like from way
Stays
back
in the
there,
car.
like and just goes, ah! Ah, like what am I gonna do? Like what should I do? Like I'll wait in the car. That seems like the safest thing to do. And it's like no, it is not.
And
Like
but also somehow the fault line's coming down. And in theory, if your car is like this and like your tires are on the fault line, your car should go this way, right? Like your what? It would be your like left side tires would go up in the air and your right side would go down. Somehow, Lois's car, the trunk goes in and then the front just goes up so that it
No, it goes
turns the whole
sideways.
car sideways. No,
Yeah, it
but
was gay. Yeah, I
yeah, the
got you
right
now. I got you.
side, like it should have just gone the right side goes in and then the left side goes up, but instead they flip the whole car so that when
She
the
has to climb
random
through the
ass
passenger
pebbles,
seat to get.
yeah, when the random ass pebbles and dirt just start
Help
descending
me!
into the
I
car.
know there's no one here, but help!
Like that's what I'm talking about. Is like they're like, hey, she's very steadfast. She kind of like is a girl who can do things on her own. How could we possibly make it so that Superman has to save her?
And
I
then
got it.
he just again from the edge, he grabs the damn bumper, not even the body of the car, and like pulls it out. It's like some of the things he does like is like defying physics. You know,
Yeah,
like there is so much weight in that car, that bumper would rip right off. Like that, even though it's steel and bolted on, it would rip right out, and then you'd have the car still in the hole in the ground. But so Superman saves everybody, and then he rolls up and finds Lois dead, and that's where he creeps out and he cries and touches her face while his hands are shaking and kisses her corpse.
and then he goes,
Necrophilia,
and
super
then he goes,
necrophilia. Yeah,
"Ah!"
and then he does what Superman does, which is cry, because Superman cries a lot. There are
He's in touch
comic
with his
book
emotions.
covers of
He's in
Superman
touch with his
crying. Yeah,
emotions. That's not a
it's
bad
how you
thing.
portray vulnerability in a person that is literally invulnerable, is that you
Except
make him
if you put
emotional
a kryptonite necklace
on a
nearby,
rock. Yeah, like if
he's
you put
nearby.
it on a chain, you're done. He's done. Ugh,
Nearby.
it's too
That's
much.
I thought Superman's
But
whole deal was like kryptonite had to be very close to him. That was just like in a chest on the ground. Like
it's
why
different.
did he?
It's there's no consistency. Like even on like a show like Smallville that like introduced kryptonite, like it's just that it's never the same. Like it's like the Doctor's sonic screwdriver. It is
It
what
just does whatever you
it's
want.
as powerful as it needs to be for the plot. Like, is it incapacitating him, or does he need to overcome it and still do an insane physical feat to save a bunch of people, despite the fact that there is literally kryptonite in his body? Like, what do we need out of this scene? And that is the severity of the kryptonite that he is going to encounter. Like,
All right, yeah,
that's just,
sorry.
but
He's crying because Lois died.
yeah. And then he flies away. And the one thing that his dad tells him in all of his training is that it is forbidden to interfere with human history. However, by the sheer fact that he is dressed up like Superman
I
and
wait, hold on,
saves
sorry.
people's life,
Do you know what I'm
yeah,
doing while you're telling me
yes,
this?
yeah, while he's floating in the clouds, forbidden, forbidden. Do it. It's forbidden, forbidden, forbidden. My son,
And then
it is forbidden to interfere in
his
human
dad
history. And he should have been like, excuse me? Well, why weren't you guys pissed when I saved the president last week? Or when I when
when
I
I was
stopped all these crimes?
that is my
I
favorite
am
scene where he
interfering
is
with human history actively.
wait, that's my favorite scene where he is literally the like he's like in where the wind tunnel goes. He's just like or not, what is that? The propeller where he's like, hello, it's
Yeah,
me. I'm the
the
propeller.
engine. It's the engine, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
the
that's what the
engine.
guy goes. He goes, what happened? Did we get a new engine? And the dude's like, we got something. I don't know what it is,
He's
but
like
we got something. Just fly, man. Just fly. I should have not taken that acid before I flew the president today. Like that's what the whole scene was like.
oh,
But anyways, so uh Superman goes and he tells his dad to save it. Like, listen,
mhm.
Jor, save it. You're a corpse.
I
What
gotta go back
what
in
is this
time.
forbidden thing? Like what possible consequences could a dead guy have against me interfering with human history? But my question is that he clearly goes and travels back in time. They show the things that happened being undone. Am I
What
right?
happened with them? Yeah. Yes. So like,
Yeah,
did
like,
they
and
make
then
that
he
happen?
goes and does none of those things, and then goes and saves Lois.
Wait,
So my
but then
question is
Jimmy
that like,
Jimmy
were there
walks
two
from
Supermen, and then they like become? Yeah, because
I
Jimmy
guess,
rolls up. He
but
obviously
he walks
saved Jimmy.
over.
So, but
He walks
how?
over from the
Yeah, he's like,
quicksand.
"What gives, Superman? You're a huge dick." And then
Jimmy
again,
walks
though,
into
like you said, where he
Hooverville.
just puts Jimmy right in harm's way, and then he's like later, like they're standing there, and she's like, "Geez, Sue, where were you? There was there was telephone poles. Like she even dates where she's at in the scene. Like telephone poles were flying, this thing, that thing, and all this stuff. And Superman's like, "Sorry, I was busy. Speaking of which, I gotta go." No, like,
Just
hey,
leaves.
you guys should get off this road because it is going to
Wait,
split in half
but
and you're going to
also,
die again. And they're like, wait, again? What do you mean again? Just don't worry about it. Just go stand over there. Like,
but
stand,
also,
you know
they don't
what?
have a
Stand
car.
on that side because that's the side they're going to be able to come and save you on. You'll be stuck over
Yeah,
there. Like,
but they don't have a car. He just is like, gotta go, and they don't have a car because Lois lost all the tires, and
yeah,
he's like,
understood. But even more is he knows that death is coming. Like, he knows that death is on its way and doesn't even warn them. He's just like, all right, later. Da,
bye.
da, da. I gotta go fly to space and smile at this the telescope or whatever because like none of us should be in space. And he's just all like, "Hello,
Bye.
I'm Superman."
And I mean, I love this movie, but boy, oh boy, when you watch it as an adult, are you like, huh,
Like I said,
what?
the things that they get right, man, they get them right, and that's what's ruined every other portrayal of Superman after that is that like we all come in there and it's like, dude, say what you will, I'm not getting into the politics of Joss Whedon or anything like that, but his version of Justice League, the one thing he did right because the two superheroes that got the perfect theme music on their first try were Superman and Batman. The problem is that Superman has never proven what Batman has, which is like you can have more than one awesome theme song because, dude,
Kiss from a Rose?
66, no, 66 Batman, Danny Elfman's Batman theme song, countless theme songs from the animated series are all good. Like freaking Batman Brave and the Bold has an awesome theme song. My daughter
Wait,
loves that cartoon.
you know we never,
I've also loved that
you
cartoon.
know
How
what
much of it?
story we never told when we did Batman? When mom was on a cruise ship and had to
Oh,
just
you weren't
say,
alive. I love how you
no, but
said
I've
we.
heard that
Oh
story
yeah, okay.
so many fucking
My
times.
mom is playing Name That Tune on a Disney cruise that we were on, and she literally lost with me as her son, okay, and my
I was
our
not born
brother,
yet.
but with me as her son, she lost Name That Tune to the 1966 Batman theme.
And
I mean,
to set the
it
scene,
was like
here's how that theme goes.
such a disappointment.
The theme goes
Batman.
Batman. That's it. And she couldn't
Yeah,
do.
but like what I'm saying is that like even still like Batman got the Danny Elfman theme in Justice League. They brought back the John Williams score for Justice League. And that's literally like the only thing that
The music in the Flash, when like you instantly are like, that's Keaton's. Like
yeah,
the in the trailer they have the Keaton music, and you're like, holy
they
shit, that's
just
the Keaton music.
and
Like
it's I'm not knocking composers now and I'm not knocking the need for originality. I'm just saying that sometimes you don't need to change what doesn't need changed.
you
Like,
don't
and
really
it's
need
just
to
like,
change
dude,
John's Williams.
yeah,
John
exactly. It's
Williams is
like
like
they
the
didn't come
one you
out
don't
with
really need to change.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and they were like, we do not need da 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 da. I think everyone's heard that song enough. It's like I would have flipped out if that song didn't play in that movie. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what I think is that like I get the need for originality and to be creative, but like what is really needed is like, hey, you know what? Let's put the John Williams. Like I would not be pissed if James Gunn like came out with Superman Legacy, and in the first trailer it was like, bum 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 bum. Are you ready to believe a man can
Bum,
fly
bum,
again
bum.
in a world where Krypton exploded?
Bum, bum, bum. Bum,
One
bum, bum,
child
bum.
braved the cold of space
Bum, ba-dum.
to come to Kansas
So
to
slow down.
save us all. Yeah,
Bum, 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 bum.
his
Uh,
name, Kal-El of Krypton. His family call him Clark, but you know him as Superman.
Superman.
This
What?
fall, you'll believe a man can fly again.
Here's the thing. I love these
Hello.
movies. I love Christopher Reeve. Watching this as an adult, and it's not even through like the modern lens. It is just being an adult. I'm like, I don't know that I would ever want someone to be like, "You're unconscious. Let me kiss you to show you my feelings," and then just carry on with my day. Like, no,
Superman was actually kissing a corpse.
yeah, Superman kissed a dead woman.
Necrophilia, super necrophilia. Because it's like Batman.
Ay,
Everything's got to start with super.
yeah,
Super kisses.
but yeah, I love these movies a lot. Still, I just think this is so long for absolutely no reason. You could have cut so much
It's
of this movie.
because it's because of the 1 hour long origins or
Yeah,
childhood. I, like I mean,
this
the
movie could
whole
have been
movie's an
like,
origin story, so it's literally like his childhood.
yeah, but insane. And yeah, those are my thoughts on
But
Superman.
I
Do you have
agree with
anything
your
else to say?
Henry Cavill. I agree with your thoughts on Henry Cavill, except for his Clark Kent is garbage.
Oh, see, I love his Clark Kent, but I also like. I disagree that he is not hopeful. It is why the scene in Batman vs Superman where he like loses hope is so like upsetting because it's like,
I just don't think his
oh,
Clark
like
Kent like you know how you were saying like oh like glasses like how could she like dude his Clark Kent is so much like Superman like
that is true.
that like it's just like yeah like
He cooks
it's like
eggs,
this
but
like
like,
you know I just took my glasses off you know it's me
who are
because
you?
like I literally move and talk and act the same exact way like his Christopher Reeve's portrayal of Clark Kent versus Superman are two distinctly different characters, and like Dean, like, and then like it all started with your boy Dean Cain. Isn't that your guy you like a lot? Dean Cain is your favorite.
What's wrong with you?
He
If you're not watching
but
this, I just rolled my eyes at him because I obviously hate Dean Cain.
but
But
he was the first one that was just like yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be any different. Like this
because
is me
he's
as
a bad
Superman.
actor on
Well,
top
yeah,
of everything else.
yeah,
He's a
it's
bad actor.
uh, but all you need to do to keep working is be in a superhero show for a couple of years. It's a cult classic, and then you're just going to play like relatives of that superhero in other superhero shows for the rest of your life.
Until you decide, hey, I'm going to become a cop and be really gross on Twitter.com. The Dean Cain story.
You mean
Sorry. So
X?
sorry, X.com.
X gonna get you.
Oh my God. Um,
I think
yeah.
he just had another kid named like Tech Savvy Musk or something like that. I saw.
Anyways. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Superman. Do you have anything else to say about Superman the movie?
They don't make them like they used to, and in some regards, that's good.
Yeah. In some regards, good on
In
us.
other regards, it's bad because nothing is new anymore, and that's part of the charm of that movie, is that it's
Yeah.
new.
But it
And
also has an hour long
prologue,
Krypton into
yeah, is it
Clark Kent.
prologue? Is that the right?
Yeah, it would be like the prologue of it, but it's
Yeah,
just super long for no reason.
yeah, and it's like, man, that's like that's also like literally the tippy top of all of their careers, all of them,
Hmm.
except for Gene Hackman, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, dude who played Jimmy Olsen. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, Gene
Like,
Hackman had already had Oscar nominations because the
right.
conversation
I
already,
mean, Ned Beatty, I
right?
can't remember if Deliverance came out before or after Superman the movie. Like, but Ned Beatty had it. But like the
What year
main
did this
three,
movie come out?
Jamie Olsen, Superman, and Lois Lane. Like Margot Kidder was in Amityville Horror and a couple other movies.
Yeah.
But like none of them. I mean, Christopher Reeve was in some really good movies that just weren't that big. Like Noise is Off with John Ritter, and you know what I'm talking about. It's a movie about a play.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Michael
It's called
Caine's in
Death.
it.
What are you talking about? Death.
No, I'm
Hold on.
talking
It's
about
called.
Noise is Off. I know what it's called. I just said it.
Oh,
It's a
Noises Off. Yes, yes, I know. Noises Off is like a famous farce. We did it in college. No, but he Christopher was also in a movie about it's a play too. Like he is in a movie called, oh my god, what is it called? It's called Death something.
he's in a time travel movie too. Like I want to say it's like a
Death Trap. Jesus, it was driving me crazy. Death Trap. That is the one with
Death
Michael
Trap
Caine. It's not
Jesus. That's
Noises
what it's
Off.
called.
No, Patrick. The movie he's in with Michael Caine is called Death Trap.
Noise. It's also called Noises Off. Will you please
No,
just
those are
believe
two.
me?
Patrick, those are
Michael
two
Caine
different
is
things.
in Noises Off.
I understand, but those are two different things. Those are two
I
different
know,
movies.
but you are trying to correct me, and like you literally just said to me,
No, I'm explaining to you why I was confused because Michael Caine is also in Death Trap. That was
listen
this.
to the tape.
Noises Off is the
We
second
have it
play
recorded.
turned movie
You
that
know, I
they
will
did
tell you if I'm
together.
wrong. Listen to the tape.
You're not.
You're the
You're not
confusing
wrong.
one
I'm
this
saying I
time.
was confused. Oh my god! I literally am telling you I
Cinema
was
Sibs,
confused.
everybody.
I'm telling you I was confused because there are two play to movie adaptations that Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve are in together.
Well, your
The
confusion
second
was
one is
contagious.
Noises Off. The second one is Noises Off. The first one was Death Trap.
And the third one will have to be in heaven.
Michael Caine is still alive.
I know. I mean, but Christopher Reeve is dead, so you still can't do anything unless they resurrect him. Like they could do like Christian Bale
It could
and
be like
Superman
Benedict.
team up, and
No,
Alfred is with CGI Christopher Reeve.
it
Like
could, or it could be like Benedict Wong's character in What We Do in the Shadows, and they just they use that guy to resurrect Christopher Reeve.
that's right. Wong.
Benedict Wong is like he is the necromancer.
He's the best character in Marvel. Is Wong.
Wong,
Wong.
yeah, he just wants to watch The Sopranos.
Mirror
Um,
dimension.
Anyways, yeah, that was Superman. We decided for our next one, and I asked Patrick to announce it, and he said no. For our next movie, we're gonna do Field of Dreams because we love Kevin Costner baseball movies.
And
That's the
uh,
reason.
also when they get to the end and he meets his dad, like it's a tearjerker. I cry every time.
Yeah, it is sad.
Hey, Dad,
Baseball.
what about a catch?
And Kevin Costner's like, thank God I get to play catch with my dad.
Also, the speech where at the end with James Earl Jones about
Why don't we
baseball.
talk about this next episode?
Baseball, Ray. All right, fine.
Patrick, where can the people find you?
Where love has been outlawed and justice has no name, you can find me fighting the good fight. Rachel, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, or also known as X, at Rachel Leishman. You can follow me on Instagram at Rachel underscore Leishman. I'm on TikTok. I'm on all those apps. And you can read my work at the Mary Sue and at Collider. Make sure to like, subscribe, tweet at us, and do all that stuff you normally do with a podcast.
Patrick, this is Patrick, you sexy son of a bitch.
Bye bye.